Shabbat Shalom. There's a saying in the Mishnah, in Masechet Ta'anit, the rabbinic tractate on the subject of fasting. Rabbi Hanina said, "I have learned much from my teachers, I have learned more from my friends, and from my students, I have learned the most of all." That's a wonderful quote, and it's one that I have taken to heart ever since I first learned it. But over the years, I have adjusted it slightly to reflect my own experience in this journey of life. And now I read it like this. I have learned much from my teachers. I have learned more from my friends. I have learned even more from my students. And from the mistakes that I have made with all of them, and I have made many mistakes, I have learned the most of all. Indeed, I consider some of the best work I do as a rabbi the result of some of my most grievous errors, leading to feel on a weekday evening distracted and speeding quickly so that I could go home and rest without any intention or joy, and then being informed that my davening actually took away some of the meaning and happiness from a congregant's day, has taught me that it is a sacred and beautiful privilege to be able to help someone pray. Quickly and persistently correcting someone's Torah reading during a Shabbat morning service and seeing the embarrassed tears blur his vision and cause even more mistakes taught me that the Torah deserves respect, but the Torah of a human soul requires respect, compassion, understanding, and kindness. And most appropriately for our conversation this morning, numerous examples of awkwardly trying to fill the silence in a Shiva house or sitting with mourners has taught me that our individual discomfort, especially when it comes to grief, should never guide our words or our attempts to comfort those who are mourning. How simple this sounds, and yet, as many of us know, it's anything but. Nowhere are we more out of our element than when we are confronted with death, with loss, with people we care about grieving while we stand by unable to take away their pain. And so we make mistakes. We talk about ourselves, we talk about the weather, we talk about the Tiger scoring woes, anything to take away the awkwardness that weighs upon that moment of grief. We try to distract the mourner, to take their mind off the heartbreak and loneliness going on within them. Or we pontificate, offering up our own experiences with death, pretending that somehow the losses that we have felt in our lives can be guiding examples for those who mourn before us. When I lost my mother, I felt the same way. When I lost my brother, I needed this long before I could go back to work. We make mistakes. But hopefully those mistakes have helped and will continue to help us learn that death is complicated, that grief is not monolithic, that it confronts every single one of us in a completely different way, and that no matter what we do, no matter how many funerals, how many shivas and support groups we attend, being present, being truly present for a mourner will always be uncomfortable, will always be awkward, will always be scary. We need look no further for an example of this uncomfortable truth than in this week's Parashat, a Parashat that is often used as a legal paradigm of the offering of sacrifices rather than an ethical example of grief. Nadav and Avihu are Aaron's sons. They are not his employees, not fellow workers in the business of the kahuna, of the priesthood. They're his children. And his children, we learn in the Torah, offer a strange fire, an unacceptable korban or sacrifice, and they are killed. As Moses sits with Aaron, he is at a loss. And we can imagine his position because we have been there ourselves. What do I do? What do I say? Should I put my arm around him? Should I kiss him and console him? Should I rest his head on my lap and cover him with my body so that he may be protected and be comforted from the pain running through him? But Moshe Rabbeinu falls into the trap of human discomfort and instead tries to fill that silence with distraction. Your children have died, but now we need to focus on the work at hand. You are not to let your hair grow or rend your clothing, Moshe says. You are to carry on. You are the Kohen Gadol. You are the high priest, and you have a job to perform. Even the greatest of our prophets becomes rigid with fear in the face of grief. In one moment of vulnerability, our hero of leadership, of justice and hope, makes a mistake. It is one of the Torah's most heartbreaking moments. It is also one of its most human. But it is also one of education, one that teaches us, our people, our community, that we can do better. Later in the Psalms of King David, we come to understand something incredibly profound and immeasurably important when it comes to loss and despair. In Psalm 130, we read, Mimamakim karaticha, from the depths I have called out to you. A short and simple verse that may sound superficially poetic, in its essence speaks to a beautiful truth. That when we grieve, that when we have lost, when we cry out in our sadness, we do so from a different world. One where we are alone. One where the normal rules don't apply. We cry out, Mima Akim. We cry out from the depths. And in the depths, we and we alone understand that there is no magic formula. There are no words that will fix a broken heart. That solace doesn't come from hearing about the losses of others or from distractions. And more importantly, we understand that we don't need to be fixed. That grief isn't something that we need to battle or overcome. That in the depths, our journey is through the depths themselves. It's not fair. It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. And in the depths, words such as, it was part of God's plan, it was his time, or she's in a better place, are hollow, no matter how good the intention behind those words. Because in the depths, these are our words. These are our personal words. I had a person, that person is gone, and here I remain. So what are we supposed to do? How can we help if we aren't speaking to mourners in the same realm, on the same platform that they are? What good are we if we can't actually take away that pain that is hurting those that we love so much? The answer is that love means absolutely everything. And love doesn't assume fixing anything. It assumes being present. It assumes lowering ourselves to the shortened chairs and sofas, not to offer advice, not to lift the mourners up, but to remind them that when they hurt, we hurt. That when they grieve, we will grieve alongside of them. And that as they travel through the depths, they will do so with the support and with the unbreakable love of those that care for them, even if we cannot know the colors of pain that sit upon the palette of their hearts. We tell them that we love them, that we are here for them. We sit in silence with them when silence is appropriate. We ask them if they need anything, a drink of water, some time to lie down, or if that they need some time to themselves. We tell them honestly that we don't have the words, that we wish we could take away their pain, but that we know we cannot. That we want to hear their stories, their thoughts, their sadness, and their anger. And then we tell them one more time, just to remind them, that we love them, and that love is here for them whenever they need to lean on it. And you know what? We'll make mistakes, because we're people, and because people make mistakes. Because even Moshe Rabbeinu, even our greatest prophet, trembled in the face of grief. But we will learn. And Bezrat Hashem, please God, we will let go of our egos and our discomfort, and we will learn to embrace that awkwardness. to welcome it and to allow it to exist without anxiety or tension. All of us are learning from one another. Every single day and every single moment, we're learning from one another. We learn from our friends, we learn from our teachers and our colleagues, we learn from our students, and from the mistakes we make as we journey through life. And you know what? Those mistakes, in their own way, are holy. They offer steps towards understanding. They offer steps towards a personal tikkun, a personal fixing, a personal accounting, allowing us to be the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. So let's celebrate those mistakes. This Shabbat, as our voices rise in prayer and song, let us remember what it means to see the world in all of its levels. That while some of us are floating in the heavens, others are calling out from the depths. And yet here we are, present and vulnerable, ready to go wherever we are needed, because that is what love is. Shabbat Shalom.